Right, Celtic's big announcement, the one that most Celtic fans have been waiting for, was finally made yesterday morning. Quite a lengthy statement. It told us that Neil Lennon would be leaving the club, that he'd resigned. It told us that John Kennedy would be placed in interim charge. But what else did it tell us? Well, after all that brilliant suspense for about 5 or 6 seconds, the answer is absolutely nothing. There was no indication from the club of who the next manager would be. Of course, you wouldn't be expecting that. There was no indication of the club about when they would start their search for the new manager, when the new manager could be in place. Absolutely no indication of that at all. And there seems to then have been just a feeling amongst the Celtic support that the new manager will come in for next season. He'll come in the summer. John Kennedy will be in charge until the end of the season. And that's actually not been said anywhere. So why are we all jumping to that conclusion? Well, the main reason is that we do only have 8 games to play this season. And let's be honest, the season is virtually already over. But I do think it's worth pointing out that when Brendan Rodgers was appointed as Leicester manager a couple of years ago, you may remember that wee incident. That was on the 26th of February. Now, it's currently the day I'm recording, and the day you're probably watching is the 25th of February. So we're pretty much at the same time of the year when Brendan Rodgers left to go to Leicester. Now, Leicester clearly saw a value of getting Brendan Rodgers in for their final 2 or 3 months of the season. And the way I'm coming at it, if Celtic know who they want to appoint and that person is out there right now, then why wouldn't you go and do it right now? Why would you wait until the summer? Of course, there is the small chance that Celtic could be looking at someone who is currently employed by a team and they may want to show a bit of respect, unlike the Foxes did a couple of years ago, and let the manager see out the season at his current club. But I was looking through the annals of history and we haven't actually paid compensation for a manager at a club for a long time. I say a long time, it's about a decade. Tony Mowbray was the last time. We paid around £2 million to West Brom. So I would say the likelihood of us appointing a guy who's already in a job is probably pretty small, although I could be made to look pretty daft there. So my opinion mainly was, why don't we try and get a manager in now, give him the last 2 or 3 months of the season to evaluate his playing squad, to get to grips with the recruitment for the summer, basically to give him a head start rather than a standing start, which is what I think could happen if he comes into the club in July. Now, I'm not wavering from that opinion. I still do think that if the right guy is there right now, Celtic should go and get him. There should be no reason to hang around and keep Kennedy in charge for the last 8 games of the season if we don't have to. But what I will say is that after having pointed out to me by a couple other people, I took a look at the calendar, the proposed calendar for the summer, and we actually have a little bit more time to work than I thought. So Celtic's final game of this season will almost certainly be on Sunday the 16th of May. Our first game of next season, thank God, can't wait to next season, will almost certainly again be the Champions League first round for us, which is actually the second qualifying round. That's scheduled for the 20th and the 21st of July at the moment. So that is a whopping 9.5 weeks between the end of this season and the beginning of next. That is far more time than we've had in any season probably for the last decade. But at the moment, Peter Lawwell isn't expected to leave the club until the end of June, with Dominic Mackay coming in, passing him by in the Celtic Park corridor and coming in to start on the 1st of July. That seems like a bit of a strange situation with regards to timing. It may make sense business-wise. I'm sure that's when most contracts end, at the end of June, with regards to football clubs and that kind of thing. But from a purely sporting or football point of view, it doesn't really make sense to do the changeover at the end of June and the start of July. It makes sense to do it at the end of the season, which is, the 3rd week in May. So I really hope that Celtic are going to try and get Dominic Mackay to come to the club early, because all of our work, well, not all of it, but a lot of our work is going to be done in June. That's where the player recruitment's going to come in. That's when the new manager really has to be appointed. That's when the player turnover is going to happen. Players are going to be leaving. Players are going to be coming in. Players are going to return to training. I know the Euros will be going on at the same time, but a lot of the players will return to training at that stage. And I think it's imperative that we have Dominic Mackay in Celtic Park for, at the very latest, the start of June and not the start of July. Equally, I really hope Celtic are going to use this 2 or 3 month period between now and the end of the season wisely. I really hope they're not just sitting there banking on John Kennedy going on a winning run so that they can take the cheap option and give him the job in the summer, because no matter how well he does, the Celtic fans aren't going to go for that. This recruitment process has to be done properly this time. They have to cast the net far and wide. They have to do due diligence. There can be no more sticking CVs in a drawer like Peter Lawwell did. It has to be done properly. There can be no more appointing someone who's a Celtic man. We have to cast the net far and wide, look at managers who are doing well in other countries, come up with a long list, bring that down to a short list, interview them, and then get them on board. That's the way it has to be done. And the one thing we have going for us at the moment is we have a lot of time. We're not even in March yet. Celtic have got the whole of March, the whole of April, and the whole of May to get this right. So let's just hope they're using that time wisely. Like it or not, but the Celtic support are probably going to judge Dominic Mackay on this first managerial appointment. That may be harsh, but I feel that if he gets this badly wrong, it may be pretty difficult for him to fully recover from that in his time at the club. So he has to get it right. He has to be involved in this. I would assume he would be, but he has to be the one making the decision. It can't be Peter Lawwell, because Peter Lawwell isn't going to be here in a matter of months. Dominic Mackay has to be making the decision, and it can't wait until July. There is just too much time being wasted between the end of May and the start of July for that to be allowed to happen. I think it should be done as soon as possible. I know there's complications with the fact Dominic Mackay is currently working for Scottish Rugby, and I know he's got other things, to do with them, and he can't just jump ship at the moment. I just think that Dominic Mackay is going to be judged on whether he gets this one right or wrong, and he therefore has to be making sure he is the one who's making the decision on this one. We have time on our side, but we've got to get moving.